Hello everyone and welcome to our 2021 Think Tank Conference. My name's Andrew Hardy and I'm the Investment Director at MGIM Global Investment Management in the UK. This marks the 20th anniversary of our flagship client conference, and we once again have an exciting lineup of top-level speakers sourced globally from across the investment industry to provide you with unrivaled thinking on the issues you face when advising your clients on investments. Those of you who've attended in years gone by in London, New York or Hong Kong will remember some of the impressive and unique venues we've hosted it from. No less so this year from our very own virtual studio. No need to go through the fire drill here. Devastating as the COVID pandemic has been in so many ways, everywhere you look, people have found new ways of operating through innovation and changing habits, which will in most cases outlast the pandemic. Through mankind's inherent resilience, we almost always emerge from crises stronger as we adapt and grow. The fresh thinking and creativity that is required brings new opportunities and benefits, just as we have here. By moving to this virtual platform, we've been able to expand attendance to so many new people in the UK, South Africa, and all of the other offshore markets that we operate in, across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. We're delighted to be able to share this event with so many more of our clients and partners this year. Next year, we very much hope to be able to return to the in-person event in London, but reflecting the success and benefits of this format and the expected new normal of more virtual working, we'll be sure to include an option to participate virtually as well. And notwithstanding the pandemic, our business, MGIM Global Investment Management, or MGIM, has grown and developed more in the last year than perhaps any of the 23 years since we set up in the UK. At the heart of this has been the successful acquisition and integration of Seneca Investment Managers, with the whole process having been completed virtually over the course of 9 months. This introduced approximately $1 billion of new assets under management and 18 new team members based in Liverpool. We now have $6.7 billion of assets under management in our fund management business, run out of London and Liverpool, the highest level in our history, and approximately £40 billion under advice for our institutional consulting team in Windsor. Our business is 65 employees strong and remains entirely focused on these two core areas. I lead our investment management team, which now numbers 21 people, where we specialise in running diversified, multi-asset, multi-specialist investment solutions for retail and institutional clients around the world, all anchored by a consistent, long-term, outcome-based investment philosophy. The shock of the pandemic tested our philosophy to the extreme, but our tried and tested approach again demonstrated its resilience and delivered outstanding performance to clients over the past year. And while we've been unable to conduct face-to-face meetings, our client engagement has been at record levels. Momentum Wealth International, our Guernsey-based platform business, which many delegates use already, also had an excellent year with approximately $400 million of new business generated, and along with the wider wealth business is embarking on an exciting new partnership with FNZ. MWI offer a leading, cost-effective, open architecture platform which we think is ideally suited and increasingly relevant for the needs of advisors and their clients. This think tank platform provides an ideal lens into our approach, particularly relating to our fund management business, as so many returning delegates, including some who've been every single year, will surely attest to. For all of those joining us for the first time, I'd like to take a few moments to set the scene for what lies ahead over the course of the next 3 days. We've always called the conference Think Tank to reflect the focus on delivering serious and value-additive investment thinking from a host of industry experts around the world. We focus on what lies ahead rather than just what's been before. It's designed for our leading clients, financial advisors and wealth managers who can use the content to shape their discussions and strategy with their clients. No different this year as we bring you an agenda of 13 speakers, most of which represent the firms we partner with in various capacities within our multi-asset solutions. And the speakers are the specialists themselves, the founders, senior portfolio managers and CEOs that are ultimately responsible for managing your clients' assets. The theme this year is investing in a post-pandemic world. While many parts of the world are still battling the virus and enduring further lockdowns, the remarkable vaccine development programs and rapid rollouts across most developed countries offers a clear path back to normality. Here in the UK, we've been fortunate to have had one of the fastest and most widespread vaccine rollouts, which has enabled just that, with virtually no restrictions remaining around social distancing or activities. 94% of adults in the UK are now estimated to have COVID antibodies, either through vaccination or past infection. Anyway, the point is that as investors, we need to recognise that the worst of the pandemic is behind us, and we should lift our eyes to the horizon and what lies ahead in the post-pandemic environment. The main conundrum for investors this year has been and remains around the outlook for inflation. Will the surge we're experiencing currently be short-lived and temporary, or could we be on the cusp of a new regime, spurred on by the pandemic and the huge levels of fiscal and monetary stimulus, but sustained by deeper-seated shifts, such as the move away from globalisation and decarbonisation? This is a critical question for investors to consider, as the path from here, of course, could have huge ramifications for government bond yields and thereby affect discount rates for all assets. Prediction is not easy, especially about the future, goes the glib quote, but at a minimum we need to consider the different scenarios that might play out and assess the arguments in support of each, something our investment team dedicates a lot of time to as we strive to build robust and resilient portfolios that aren't beholden to one future path. In our opening session, Malcolm Barr, Head of European Economic Research at JP Morgan, will talk through his outlook for inflation and policy in the coming years. While tomorrow, Monica Defend, Global Head of Research from Amundi, will explore the implications for geopolitics and markets more broadly. We mustn't forget how remarkable it is that we're reflecting on the upside risks to growth and inflation, just over a year on from one of the worst economic crashes ever. Of course, it was the first vaccine news at the start of November last year that has enabled this, and ushered in the first sustained period of outperformance for the so-called value equity investing style, referring to investments in out-of-favour, lowly valued, and often more economically sensitive businesses. After a decade or so of prior underperformance of value stocks, most market indices and investor portfolios have become skewed towards growth stocks, the pandemic winners. But if markets begin to price in a more sustained increase in the rate of inflation from here, and corresponding higher rate environment, expect to see value strategies delivering far superior returns relative to broad market indices. We think the outlook for value stocks at this juncture is very good, and we maintain significant holdings across all our portfolios, including through a strategy managed by RWC Partners. Portfolio manager Ian Lance will elaborate on why we may see a much longer renaissance for the value style in the years ahead. In the other corner of the ring, making the case for growth stocks, we'll have Mark Baraboo of Jennison Associates and Richard Watts of Jupiter. Mark is a familiar face at Think Tank, having run a global equity portfolio for us for nearly 10 years, during which period he has achieved returns of nearly 20% per annum, well ahead of broad indices and the vast majority of peers. Meanwhile, Richard runs the Chrysalis Investments portfolio, a closed-ended listed fund which owns stakes in a focus list of disruptive, high-growth pre-IPO businesses. With the average early-stage growth company choosing to stay private for much longer now than in previous decades, we think it's increasingly important for investors to find vehicles like this to tap into the best unlisted growth opportunities. 2 years ago, shortly after we first invested in Chrysalis, Richard welcomed Anne Bowden, CEO of Starling Bank, to the conference to provide direct insight into one of the underlying portfolio holdings. We'll follow the same format this year with Julian Techie, CEO of the insurtech business WeFox. Digging deeper into our portfolios, beyond the value versus growth divide, highlights our approach at MGIM of building in deep and robust diversification. We think this will be more important in delivering on client objectives going forward than it has been the last few years, not just to reduce risk and smooth the journey for investors, but also as a means of enhancing returns in areas that are less appreciated and more enduring than some of the latest growth stories. It's been a fantastic 12 months or so for most risky asset classes and for our portfolios, but we think the easy gains are behind us and the returns will be harder to come by and more widely dispersed from here. Real estate is a great example of an area that we think offers a healthy combination of return potential and diversification, but where it's key to identify the right specialists to partner with. It's an area that saw huge bifurcation in terms of the immediate impact from the pandemic, but also where its effect will continue to reverberate for many years to come. Just think of the seismic shifts underway for online versus physical retail, or office versus home working. But it's also an area that offers better protection against the risks of higher inflation in the future than most. Andrew Jones, CEO from FTSE 250 listed London Metric, will talk us through his outlook for the property market. We'll also explore the much more niche and specialist world of music royalties, an area that offers the prospect of steady and uncorrelated returns relative to more traditional investments. Music to any investor's ears. It's not an obvious area that would occur to you when thinking of business models that would benefit from the pandemic. But rapid growth in streaming and the inability to monetize talent through live events has caused the value of the most popular back catalogues of music royalties to soar. Mercuriadis, CEO of Hipgnosis, and formerly manager to legends including Elton John, Guns N' Roses and Beyoncé, will talk through this fascinating area, which continues to offer a high and steady income stream in a low-rates world. Beyond the pandemic, sustainability and environmental, social and governance (ESG) factors represent an inexorable trend that should force investors to think differently, both about how their capital can make a difference and the opportunities it brings to participate in the growth of new or evolving industries. We're delighted to have Maja Zandbergen, Head of Sustainability at Robeco, exploring the 50 shades of green across the industry. We've partnered with Robeco for a combination of systematic style factor exposure and sustainability integration to varying degrees across many of our portfolios, and they represent some of the foremost thought leaders on sustainability in the industry. Meanwhile, Alex Okaneda, CEO of Gore Street Capital, will highlight more specific investment opportunities created by the transition towards clean energy, specifically energy storage assets and the changes that need to be made to existing infrastructure to enable the ambitious decarbonisation goals that so many countries, corporations and individuals are increasingly aiming for. Responsible investing has been in our DNA at Momentum for many years, with our group being signatories to the United Nations Principles for Responsible Investment, UNPRI, since 2006. We've made considerable further progress in the past year in ensuring the highest standards of governance and reporting apply to ESG integration across all our portfolios, as well as developing new solutions to meet more specific client needs. You can find more information on this in the Responsible Investing section of our website, and our team would be happy to share more details with you after the conference. This agenda very much focuses on the myriad opportunities we see in constructing portfolios, even after such a period of exceptional returns, and intentionally strikes an optimistic note as we focus on the post-pandemic environment, which we fully expect the rest of the world to join us in over the coming months. COVID will be with us for a long time to come, but we're learning to live with it now. Looking forward, other risks will come to the fore though. Many of these will be touched on by various speakers, including one of the most significant in our opinion, being the increasing tension between China and the rest of the world, as this superpower increasingly establishes itself as a first world country and swings its weight about on the international stage, whilst enacting sweeping regulatory change at home. James Morton of Santa Lucia Asset Management joins us from Singapore to share his insights on the risks this brings for investors globally over the years to come, based on his wealth of experience investing in companies across Asia. Tomorrow morning, you'll also hear from Jeanette Murray, Deputy CEO of the Momentum Group, our parent company, and CEO of the Investments Division, for an update on the business, with a focus on the merits of our approach to advice-driven investing. Concluding the conference as ever, pulling all these expert viewpoints and insights together in his own inimitable way, will be our very own Glyn Owen, who requires no introduction to most of our delegates. He established our business and this conference many years back, and will end the 3 days by talking through our investment outlook in more detail, and how the various themes discussed weave into our thinking on portfolio construction. For all the advantages of this virtual format, the thing we will miss most is the chance to engage one-on-one with all of the delegates, ideally accompanied by a drink or a good meal. We can't replicate that here, but I'm confident this virtual platform and the agenda will help provide a lot of insight into our team and approach. So to get the most out of it, before introducing our first speaker, a few housekeeping points about the virtual platform. Please be aware that each speaker's presentation is hosted separately, so you need to bookmark or join each of the sessions you'd like to watch, as they won't start automatically. Slide decks are available on each speaker's session and can be downloaded as a PDF. The platform provides the ability to ask questions during the presentations. Members of my team, and in most cases the speakers themselves, will be on hand to chat and answer your questions that way. You can also rate each of the sessions. Meanwhile, on the event feed, please like, rate and comment on photos and videos. You can also create your own event posts. The conference platform will be open until the end of September if you'd still like to view any of the presentations you weren't able to see. After September, all the videos will be available on our events page and the Global Matters portal on momentum.co.za, as well as on the Global Matters WhatsApp bot and our MGIM website, momentum.co.uk. Please take a moment to explore the online platform and say a virtual good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to your fellow delegates. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to join us this week. From all of us organising the conference, we very much hope you enjoy the agenda and we've prepared and take away valuable insights on the post-pandemic investment landscape.